Alright guys, such coming again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. After quite the delay in this Rostermania period, FaZe have officially confirmed their full roster for the upcoming Call of Duty League season. I nearly said Atlanta FaZe, but that is no longer the case. FaZe Vegas is official, the branding is official, and there are many interesting things that are frustrating some existing FaZe fans and some other members of the competitive Call of Duty community as well. Is this a good change to the branding? Is this an absolutely terrible idea? How will time tell on this? But especially Simp, what does he think about it? And also, what does he think about his future teammates? And also his past ones, giving lots of thoughts on that he intends to shoot bodies next year when he comes up against aBeZy and Cellium. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into. We're just going to quickly be in here because Black Ops 7, we're getting some further announcements soon. The road to the beta they talk about. So the beta is open, early access in early October. So only a couple of weeks away now. World 2 is a Warzone, start of October. Who cares about that? But we do have on the 22nd of September the multiplayer reveal trailer. That's in just a couple of days' time, right? So Monday, we can be expecting that to be official. Let's talk about roster stuff. Miami, they say happy birthday to Metals. He, of course, has been with them for some time. They talk about, 2026. They've not officially confirmed Metals is staying yet, but it seems pretty likely that he will be at this point. We don't think they're going to go and get Snoopy. Maybe they never wanted it. Maybe Boston wouldn't let him go, whatever. Rencor, super. Trakes is their new man replacing Real. And then I don't really think they'd be tweeting this, especially not talking about 2026 if they weren't going to bring him back. I think Metals are going to be pretty annoyed if they're going to drop you and then they're going to tweet this at the same time. But let's talk about FaZe. Simp drops this one a couple of hours ago. Well, actually, he tweeted this a long time ago now, and, well, he retweeted this a couple of hours ago to maybe say, look, this is how it was going to be all along. FaZe_Vegas is now the official branding of FaZe's Call of Duty team. Still presumably owned. I mean, it actually says here in their bio, you guys can just about see it here, team owned by aBeZy. So it's still the same organization, which we wouldn't necessarily expect to change. It's not going to magically become the, Vegas Esports Ventures or whatever. But Atlanta Esports Ventures, the team was in Atlanta for a long time. They paid FaZe some money to basically borrow their branding. That story continues, but with Vegas Legion disappearing and becoming the Vegas Falcons, and now Vegas Falcons disappearing and becoming the Riyadh Falcons, it opens the door to an organization to step into Vegas, and FaZe, they do fit the bill, right? If you think about it from an organizational perspective, I totally get it. One thing I don't really get is the pink, but I guess let's talk about it, right? So this is their reveal trailer, Atlanta FaZe. They've done a pretty good job, to be honest, putting this one together. But as you can see, the cards are flying around. You see some teasing of the branding. And Atlanta FaZe becomes FaZe Vegas. Now, you look at it like, how terrible really is this? Is it terrible? Is it acceptable? I think as time goes on, I might not. Currently, I quite dislike it. I don't hate it viscerally. I just find the original Atlanta FaZe logo very aesthetically pleasing, and also red, which was one thing that, FaZe is red, right? You think FaZe red, OpTic green, FaZe red, right? So, I don't know. That's one talking point for sure. This is their new logo, and it's one of a couple of logos. But anyway, as the video goes on, they've got Simp, they've got Drazah, both of them are to stay, and then of course rounding out the team with Abuzah and then 04. So pretty spectacular announcement video they've done. This is the other branding that they've got with the FaZe and the Vegas kind of leaning into the same place. But this is the color scheme, right? Like, this isn't, you might call it purple, but and maybe there is a bit of purple there, but there is a lot of pink here, right? Which is, I guess, kind of cool. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? I'm sure of all of the changes here, I feel like this is almost the most controversial, them going away from the red. And look, you can see the color on the new shirt here that Simp's wearing. You can see that new pink. They've got it in white as well. This is the logo, right? They wanted it to be FaZe Vegas in the same way that it's OpTic Texas, rather than it being, Chicago Huntsman like it was back in the day. They want to have, or Atlanta FaZe, they want to have the proper brand first. So that's probably why they've got FaZe on this side and then the V on the other side. I think in certain colors, in certain ways, it's maybe not the worst logo ever, but it is, I don't know, aesthetically there is something kind of wrong with that FaZe Vegas logo to me. It just looks a little bit off somehow. Maybe it'll grow on me over time. But anyway, 4 of a kinds. That's the logo. This is the team. We'll obviously discuss the team in a second. We've kind of known it for some time. Did a great job on the graphics here, really, didn't they? Like some of these announcements. FaZe Vegas, you guys can see the logo. This is when the logo just doesn't look good. I mean, imagine an ace of spades with that in the middle. This is absolutely horrible. And when it's just like black on white, with nothing else going on, it just looks bad. When they use the logo and they do stuff with it, like this on Simp's shirt, maybe it looks a little bit better. But then, anyway, those are my initial thoughts on the branding, I guess. Simp says, absolutely fire, excited to compete with the team, need Black Ops 7 right about now. And he does say, don't care what anyone says, the new branding, the new colour scheme is fire. Now, let's see whether the fans agree. Go to the replies. And, you know, purple, pink, love the purple, I prefer it. So we'll see, right? I mean, you know, obviously some people aren't so convinced. I don't know, maybe it'll grow on me. I just think it's a bit strange because we've got plenty of purple teams already. Toronto are purple, although they might now just be blue because of Toronto Koi, so they might no longer have the ultra purple pink, right? I mean, ultra is kind of more pink than purple, maybe. Minnesota's definitely purple. G2's going to continue on that trends. LA Gorillas are gone. So, you know, it is like the teams that were purple, pink, some of them are gone, so it does open the door for FaZe. But it just feels like an interesting design decision because, as I say, when you think of FaZe, it is red historically. And yeah, Thieves also red. So maybe they want to be totally unique and go down this route. And it's interesting. I mean, look, that's the overall logo to just finalize everything. Don't know what this whole FaZe thing is about. FaZe have been cooking with, you know, I want to say they've been cooking with seed oils the last few months. I don't know. Like, it ain't been so pretty. Anyway, this is what they're cooking up. Let's talk about the roster. I suppose that's worth discussing as well. Drazah says we're back. I mean, it's pretty funny, actually, Drazah's tweets here. Now, I will say, because FaZe Vegas are new brands, it's kind of ugly, right? It's FaZe_Vegas. Like, I don't know. It'll be fine, but they've rebranded it. It's not exactly pretty. They've not got the verification yet, which means that none of the guys are verified. And Drazah's funny because, like, he basically is tweeting about Chals. It's like, oh, my team. Chals. Like, since then. So, you know, this guy's pretty funny. But anyway, we've got the official confirmation. The 2 Surge guys, 04 and Abuzah, are officially joining. Abuzah makes a lot of sense. If, look, at the end of the day, FaZe, they wanted to part ways with Cellium and aBeZy. We'll see what Simp has to say on that in a second. They needed an AR. Of all the AR options out there, Abuzah was gettable for free. Surge are blowing it up. Makes perfect sense. The other question was whether Neptune was a better option than 04. I think that is one of the key questions, but I think on paper, I like this 04 move. Look, you look at this team, Simp, Drazah, 04, Abuzah. On paper, it can never be an upgrade from last year's team. There's basically nothing that they could possibly have done to make in an upgrade on last year's team. I think their floor goes down, right? Like, the FaZe team over the last few years, their floor has just been so ridiculously high that they would always be on Sunday, with very rare exceptions, right? I think this team's floor can be lower than that now, although maybe Simp is just the key to having an incredibly high floor. Their ceiling could still be the same. Like, I can see this team winning an event. I think it's possible. If they do, it might well be on the back of Search and Destroy. I think 04 is especially good in that mode. This team should be really good in Search. I do worry a little bit about their respawn, the consistency of the slaying. I think that Simp has a lot to prove himself. We've been talking about these top 10 lists over the last few days. Simp, aBeZy, you know, there will be some very interesting storylines going on there next year. How are Abuzah and Drazah going to work from an AR perspective? I think there's a few questions on that, but I'm very excited to see Simp play with another sub-duo. Like, I think it's going to be great for the storylines. You know, we just know what's happened the last few years. Simp and aBeZy, they've always been there together. You know what you expect. That has been the gold standard for some time. Simp and 04 is going to be interesting. I think they're, you know, Simp's going to have to play a little bit of a different game, not playing with someone like aBeZy. Is 04 going to try and replicate aBeZy's style, or is he going to do his own thing and they're going to make it work? I think that would be the way to go, and that's probably what they're going to do. Is this team an absolute top contender? You know, does it contend with OpTic and the new Thieves? And in my opinion, that's still very difficult. I mean, look, Scrap, HyDra, aBeZy, Kenny, if that is the team. Pretty scary. So that's still an absolute contender. How close is this FaZe team? We'll see. Simp's very excited for the season. EasyMax says should be a contending team. Logo, not so convinced. And we've also got to wonder where these players go from here and also what future they might have. Celler's now been confirmed. Simp has now been confirmed. We think that aBeZy's going to LA Thieves. Again, do you like the pink on this graphic right here? It just feels a little bit weird, does it not? I don't know. It can't just be me who feels this way. But anyway, these numbers are quite remarkable, actually. When we were putting together this graphic, I was like, wow, that is very interesting. So looking at overall KDs in the CDL era while these guys were teammates, aBeZy's going his own way, Cellium's going his own way, Simp's obviously staying where he is, but you know, the fact that Simp has a 0.98 KD at the World Championship, if you include Black Ops 4, that I think probably goes above a 1, but in the CDL era, that is the actual number. And yeah, kind of remarkable to think about, isn't it? Given what's happened over the last few years, and the reality is that Simp knows his results lately have not been good enough at champs. He wants to change that, and this is what he's about to say. Now, 4 and a half years ago, Simp tweeted this out to say that if I don't retire with aBeZy as my duo, something went seriously wrong. And I think we probably talked about this tweet at the time, and look, maybe my opinion was not this, but I imagine my opinion was I don't expect them to retire together because time, you know, unless they only played for a couple more years, time just changes, right? Things change. It was inevitable that at some point FaZe would not just keep on winning and that they would probably feel like they were better off going elsewhere. And that's what Simp describes here. Now, Ronnie sits down with him, does a great little interview. These are some of the key things that he had to say. So he talked a bit about the end of last season, but what was interesting really was this. After EWC, we all felt that it was time for a change. I think the trio as a whole felt like we needed to separate, to be honest, with aBeZy specifically. Towards the end of us teaming, I felt like we stopped bouncing off each other as easily like we used to. So that's pretty interesting from Simp, kind of just confirming that as a duo, they weren't quite on the same page. Because it felt for a time, certainly Cold War, let's say when they're at their absolute peak, that they were just so tuned in. It was almost like they were like symbiotic in some way, where they were just like aBeZy would make the space and then Simp would get all the kills, or sometimes the other way around. And they were just such a fearsome duo on the map. Last season especially, that felt like it wasn't quite the case as much anymore, and even when trying to resolve some of those issues, apparently they were running into problems there. So it was inevitable, I think, given this discussion, that they had to go their separate ways. But as Simp says, this upcoming season is the most excited I've been for a year of COD in quite some time. New branding too, feels like a bit of a fresh start after everything that's happened this off-season, which is an interesting way to put it, because, you know, yes, a lot has happened. aBeZy's gone, Cellium has gone, but it's not like, you know, it's not like everything's completely changed. Obviously, there has been a lot of changes, but I don't know. Does that not imply that there was a bit of friction? Maybe I'm probably just reading into things, right? But maybe there was some friction here between these guys, how things ended. I'm sure things ended amicably enough, but my understanding is that it's not like they were just like, all right, well, you know, best friends forever type thing. And there will be a bit of that after their career is done. But Simp makes it pretty clear that he wants to beat these guys that have left him, right? Absolutely. And Ronnie says, are you excited about 04 and Abuzah? Simp says they bring a ton to the table. I feel like both of them will help me be the player that I want to be, which is also interesting because Simp is, you know, does that not imply a little bit that Simp feels like over the last couple of seasons he's not been able to play the COD that he wants to play? Now, that's probably a discussion that they will have had internally. For example, Simp is the planting the bombs, right? He's planting the bombs and getting the hill time. You know, in my opinion, when I first watched Simp play COD, and I was like, this guy might be the most talented kid I've ever seen play this game, I wouldn't have put him on the bomb and playing the hill time, right? Like, that's just my gut feel, is that when Simp is doing that role for the team, I'm not sure that's for the best. And maybe Simp felt like, given his teammates, that he had to do that over the last couple of years. Probably why he has a 0.98 at the World Championship, to be honest. So maybe there's a little bit there of like, hey, playing with 04, playing with Abuzah will allow Simp to be the raw gunny slayer that he always, you know, has been and maybe wants to be. And as Ronnie goes, with Drazah still on your side, you'll face off against Cell and aBeZy. Looking forward to these grudge matches. I'm definitely looking forward to shooting a body or two this year, he says. So pretty clear that he will be trying to beat those guys, and when he does, or when they beat him, he will be expecting some body shots one way or the other. So as I say, there is going to be, even if it's not like crazy beef, which is not crazy beef, but there will be a little bit in those series, obviously, and there quite well should be, right? These guys are competitors. They'll want to beat each other and prove that they were the better of the duo or the trio. And as Simp says, I want to win champs. I want to win another ring. He's got 2, he wants 3. I always tend to win a tourney or 2 each year, but it's not felt like enough. And maybe Simp feels like this is the way to get to that point. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.